As the most ethical component of an organization's social responsibility, child labor should certainly be a part of every CSR plan that employs children. Nonetheless, in today's atmosphere, few businesses are worried about eliminating child labor from their supply chain. Only some few companies are using corporate social responsibility (CSR) to address child labor by implementing teaching programs or improving supply chain transparency. According to Save the Children India, India has one of the highest concentration of child workers in the world, with 33 million children aged 5 to 18 working. Nearly a third of them are under age of 50.
Child labor is an age-old issue with deep roots in the record of human history. This issue is widespread throughout the world, undeveloped and poorer nations. The use of children as labor is one of the most significant challenges that the world, particularly in emerging nations like India. More than 1 million Indian youngsters are currently working and living in risky conditions. Poverty is a major factor in child labor in India because of their financial situation. Parents could not afford to finance their children. They are forced to work as fast as possible to increase the income of their financially difficult family. Choices were made only to provide a level of subsistence income for their family. Discrimination between males and females. Girls are often found to be working alongside their parents in families where there is a history of manual labor. Traditions motivate child labor in India. Many households call children labor a traditional or custom. Some parents believe introducing their children to the job world early will help them succeed as adults. Due to lack of resources, certain children in the country are denied an education. Low-income children don't always have access to affordable education, leaving them uneducated and helpless. Social and academic backwardness.
In this part, I am going to demonstrate a clear argument to ethics. Ethics is a set of moral principles that affect a behavior of a person or the conducting of an activity. The first personal ethics that affect a person in doing unethical action is selfishness. Unethical employers are more willing to employ children to work for them because their wages are much more cheaper if compared to adults, and this will cause those children to skip their school. Next is fairness. Children will easily become the victim in unfair job conditions because they do not have enough power to fight back. This will cause a long-term negative effect to those children in terms of physical and psychological. The second part is legal ramification. Article 24 is a law to protect child labor in India. Article 24 disallows children under 14 years old in the country to work for any company and factory. In Malaysia, we also have tabled and passed a child labor law in 1966. Under this law, children are not allowed to involve in any hazardous work. Those employees who caught breaking the rules will be penalty up to 5,000 ringgit Malaysia or imprisonment.
Next, I would like to present 2.3 demonstrate on decision-making or judgment processes are made and how they may vary. First, decision made. Choose to employ child labor. The labor cost could be minimized if they employ child labor who are informal and easily to be controlled. The law enforcement for the child labor was not as strict as the adult labors, therefore they can ignore the welfare and deprivate the rights of the children. The children had the opportunity to work as the child labor since the school were closed during the lockdown period due to the pandemic COVID-19. The child labor would learn new specific skills and knowledge during work as child labor too. Decision make choose to not employ the child labor. This is because education should be their focus in their life because education taught the children how to understand and differentiate the right and wrongs of the certain issues. The childhood of the children is the foundation for the behavior, moral values, personality, health and learning to enrich themselves to be a better person in future. Child labor would bring disastrous impacts on the growth and health of children, whether mentally or physically. The GDP of India and growth are mainly contributed by the skilled workers. This means that the economy would become worse if the number of child labor increase in India out of control.
Ethics, also known as moral philosophy, is the study of what is morally good and bad, right and wrong. The term can also refer to any set of moral values or principles. Code of ethics is a set of principles intended to help professionals conduct themselves honestly and with integrity. Ethical principles do not provide a simple guide that guarantees making an ethically correct decision, nor do they provide guidance on ranking when the principles appear to conflict with one another. From a deontological perspective, child labor can never be ethical and should always be rejected as it is not wanted to become a general law. Second, all children in India affected by child labor should be treated as an end in itself, rather than merely as a means, namely that their freedom and dignity must not be compromised. According to utilitarianism theory, utilizing children for labor is a moral action that does not harm other people or children but rather helps them improve their living conditions. From the aspect of leadership principle, shareholders benefit from child labor in the form of higher ROI because production is carried out at low wage costs, resulting in lower expenditure and a higher yield. Next, from the aspect of responsibility principle, nowadays not many companies are concerned with the elimination of child labor in their supply chain.
The best solution to resolve child labor. The first one is awareness raising. It means of alerting specific groups and the public in general to the existence of child labor, the harm it does, and the urgent need to address it, including through the promotion of education. The second one is discouraging people to employ children in homes, shops, and factories by protests or by NGO. NGO today sensitize trade organizations to end the social evil and educate locals about reporting instances of child labor at businesses and home. Stopping child labor in India is the greatest need of an hour for society. It required the NGOs providing proper education for every child as they will be our future face. The last one is child labor monitoring. Parents, siblings, and young people are often willing to play a role monitoring children at risk of child labor and making sure they go to school and stay out of hazardous workplace. The community may be able to contribute to the project activities financially, in kind or through volunteer, particularly in the case of monitoring.
To summarize, the most ethical part of corporate social responsibility has always been and will continue to be child labor. Given the intricacies of social issues and the underlying reason of child labor, it is vital to stress that business should not be expected to replace government in eradicating poverty or resolving education gaps, as this is often beyond their capacities.